It's now 7 o'clock. Welcome to the City of Newport regular meeting of the Board of Commissioners, August 22nd, 2022 at 7 p.m. Please rise for a moment of silent prayer, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance and roll call. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Joy, please call the roll.
Commissioner Fennell, Commissioner Plusso,
Here.
Commissioner Recton,
Here.
Vice Mayor Plusso,
Here.
Mayor Gudouli.
Here. This evening's meeting is going to be a busy one. We have lots of items on the agenda, and we're going to start with a couple presentations, after which we will take a break because we are recognizing some individuals tonight. Afterwards, they take photos. We'll probably take about a 15-minute break and then reconvene. Our first presentation, though, is from Paige Ellerman with the Newport Penguins to update us about their season. So welcome, Paige.
Thank you so much for having me, Mayor Gudouli and commissioners and everyone. I don't know that I've ever been here when it's been this crowded. Thanks for pushing me up too. Very quickly, I want to give you a quick update on our 2022 season. This was our 10th anniversary season for the Newport Penguins swim and dive team. Can you believe it? 10 years. 10 years, well, actually, probably 11 years ago, I was here asking for your support, and I got it. And 10 years later, we have served hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of kids. Quickly, you have, I don't know if you want to flip through, you don't have to, but our mission and vision of this team initially was to provide a recreational service through our wonderful public pool in Newport, which is the only public pool in Campbell County. We wanted to provide a service to Newport residents, summer swim and dive programs. We joined the Northern Kentucky Swim League, and we had an exhibition year. Went really well. We had 30 swimmers that first year. This year, we had 139 swimmers and divers on our swim team, making us one of the biggest in the Northern Kentucky Swim League. We have two programs that we offered this year. One was the competition swim and dive team. The other was free swim lessons. We offer free swim lessons to any child in Newport. Those lessons filled up in less than a day this year, one day. So we're looking at new ways to do registration to make it more fair and equitable, because that was very stressful for those of us who are the volunteers who run the team, but it was still a great summer. So what we did this summer, continued our wonderful partnership with the City of Newport. We have been very fortunate to be supported by you. We are a part of the Newport Foundation, for those who don't know. We aren't our own 501c3. We're just volunteers under the umbrella of the Newport Foundation. Again, we operate through the only public pool in Campbell County, so we end up pooling mostly from Newport, but also from outside of Newport because of that wonderful service that Newport provides. Over the years, we've had partners for our funding. We have partnered with Newport Independent Schools and offered free lessons to the 21st century kids. We have gotten funding from USA Foundation for free swim lessons. But that grant opportunity has run out. So now we live our mission by fundraising. So each year we do a Penguins Palooza, where all of our swimmers swim laps or do dives, and they get supported by their family and friends. And then we also rely on the generous donations of many individuals to make this possible. The cost to participate on the team requires a vet pool membership, which is $150, and then it's $50 per athlete for people who live in Newport and $75 if you don't. Our water safety, again, is free for Newport residents. But what we do, and we're the first in the NKSL to do this, is immediately upon launching, because of our mission, we provide scholarships for any families who can't afford to participate. We make it possible. We do not let cost be a barrier. We also have a Pass It Along program. Swimming equipment, like all sports equipment, can be really expensive. So we have families who donate goggles and swimsuits, and we also pass along team suits. So once you've worn it for the season, kids grow out of stuff quick, right? So we have you pass it along so we can pass it along to kids who need it. And that's proven really, really great. And then, of course, every kid gets a swim cap every summer because we have a generous donor who provides those swim caps. Our swim lesson program cost this summer $61.72 per student. We gave 100, it was 153 or 154, I don't want to misspeak, but it's in here, the correct number, of free swim lessons to Newport residents this summer. So that's how many kids we served. We would have served more if we could get more instructors. We're working on that for next summer. I know the pool struggled with lifeguards. Lifeguards were a challenge everywhere this summer. We're all working on it to make it better next year. So the program cost for just the free swim lessons was $9,500. We fundraised for that and made that possible for the Newport kids. Ultimately, we are competitive. We like results. This summer, we finished second in the whole league in diving. Second, which is amazing. And we ended up fifth in the league. We had a lot of our top-tiered swimmers go to national meets the week of the NKSL championship. It was an unfortunate scheduling issue, but we did really, really well. We've now broken 12 Northern Kentucky Swim League records in our time here, and our beautiful record board that we put up at the Vets Pool in 2021 will reflect that next year. So we're just racking up more league records every year and highlighting how wonderful our program is. And there's details about that in here. Ultimately, I just wanted to give some quick statistics. So this year we had 139 kids on the team. We gave swim lessons to 154 kids. Over the course of our program, starting in 2015, we've given free swim lessons to more than 700 kids in Newport. So that's 700 children who've gotten free swim lessons because of our program. It's water safety first. That's always been our focus. We've also hosted 4 NKSL championships where we have over 1,000 people come to Newport and we showcase all we can have to offer. And of course, every season we have 3 home swim meets and home dive meets where we're also showcasing the Newport community at those meets. And again, we're completely volunteer run. So this summer, we reached well over 200 Newport children and provided them with this wonderful service. Thousands in the Northern Kentucky community came to Newport and saw, what we have to offer. So we serve a lot of important community interests. In addition to the water safety, we provide a wonderful community building service. Consistent with the Newport Foundation, which is focused on recreation in Newport, we provide tons of opportunities. Weekly team breakfast. After the swim and dive meet every week, we go to dinner together. We participate in the Newport Memorial Day Parade. There's some pictures in here of that. We show up at 4 different championship meets every summer as a Newport representative. And we come together as a team, and it's just a wonderful experience. We end every summer with a team banquet at the Vets Pool. That is a blast. We have parent dive competitions and parent relays, and the kids cheer them on. And it is embarrassing for the parents, but gosh, do they love it. So it's a lot of fun. We would love to continue our partnership with the city. We are very fortunate. All of the children that I've mentioned have been very fortunate to be a part of this. We have 4 kids who've gone on to swim and dive in college. Most recently, we have Emma Luttrell, who's got a full ride to Eastern Michigan University because she came and swam for the Penguins, which is pretty cool, right? And that doesn't happen a lot. A full ride to college for an athlete, Division I athlete, pretty neat. The one request I will make, and we made this request before the pandemic, is that we'd like to partner with the city, and yes, we do have some funding left over, to put in a water fillable water fountain at the pool. Right now, there is not a water fountain. And for athletes who are working really hard at practices, it's really challenging, or it meets. So if we can partner with the city to do that, we would love to do it. Again, we have the funding to help make that happen. We just need to connect and to make it happen for next year. So I don't know if you have any questions, but it was a really great summer. Lots of fun. And the volunteers who run the program are just really dedicated, and we're not going anywhere. And we're going to keep doing it until our kids don't do it anymore, I guess. So we're in the process of trying to get some people to follow up, and we've got some really good families. Mayor Gaduli, I know you know some of them who are training to take it on going forward. Any questions?
Well, first, I just want to thank you for your 10-year commitment in leading the volunteers in the program, because it's a lot of work, a lot of effort, and the partnership is a real partnership. And your request is one that we will take under consideration as we try to find funding to do a lot of things, but it's a reasonable request. It's unfortunate that we've not had a water fountain there for a little while. But all those volunteers make it happen. It's amazing that there's very few paid staff in the entire program. It's really volunteer-driven, and it brings a great sense of community spirit. And the mission that you've kept from the very beginning, which was a promise, is that you would be inclusive and you would find ways to scholarship people that couldn't afford it. So thanks for that continuation. Any other questions on the board?
Great job. Just thank you. Thank you.
Thanks for your time and thanks for your support. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Paige. At this time, there is a recognition for Police Officer Kenneth Honchel.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for coming tonight. For those that have heard me talk at some of the neighborhood meetings, you're going to hear something I typically always say, but I need to remind people sometimes. We're in the middle of a 2 million person metropolitan area. Newport, Covington, Cincinnati are right in the epicenter of that. We usually rank in the top 25 in the whole country for population. I say that because in Newport, we feel that way. We are a small town with 3 square miles, but we still have some big city issues that we need to deal with. That said, every police officer in here, whether they're at the beginning of their careers, the middle of their careers, or at the end of their careers, has had to deal with some very difficult situations, which you guys kind of hear sometimes in Facebook and some of the social media. I'd be lying if I said it's easy on the mind. All of us come across a first very difficult situation. We all, for the most part, have great families at home that can support us. We have a great city manager, mayor, and commission that support us. I'm going to be the first one to say it. I'm not going to say it publicly. During the 2020 riots across the country, a lot of you in here and our residents came out of the woodwork to support us. It was COVID, so I can't really talk to everybody directly, but I want to thank everybody in here for that support. It meant a lot to us. We have a lot of fellow officers in other departments that tell us the exact opposite, and it's a shame. It's a shame that the prejudice sometimes against police officers just for their age. And I don't want to get too down about it. It's fact, it is what it is. If you ever get the opportunity, thank one of your local police officers, because in Newport, we're so small that most of us have interacted with you at some time. I mean, God forbid you work in a bigger department, people might not even know you're retired, not even know that you're a police officer, not even know that you're a part of their community. That's the opposite of Newport. In Newport, everybody knows us, know who we are, and know our families as well. But with all that, appreciate the opportunity right now. Officer Honchel was a fantastic police officer, city of Newport. I very much thank you, Kenny. A little background on Kenny. He's one of those people that we all work with. You ask him to do something, it gets done, it gets done well. In fact, it gets done in a way that other officers probably don't know how to look at it. Kenny holds the record for the most commendations, which are citizen-driven typically. By that I mean people reach out and actually show their appreciation for Kenny Honchel and the things that he did. One of the most recent ones was during COVID. An 80-year-old lady, I believe, one of her family members was calling from down in Kentucky saying, I'm really worried about her getting her groceries. I'm really worried about her being taken care of. She's by herself. Officer Honchel bought groceries, took them to her house, helped her, checked on her, made contact with the family to make sure that they were okay. That's the kind of caliber police officer Kenny Honchel is. And you're a really great guy, and I love you, buddy, and thank you so much for working here with all of us. This is from the police department. Anytime a valued member of our police department retires, we want to make sure that we get them our retirement award. And then from the city, we have Kenny's plaque. So thank you so much for everything you've done, your family as well. Thanks for being there for us and going out and helping the community the best way you know how. Thank you.
We're going to continue to recognize, and at this time, Battalion Chief Adam N. Petticourt.
Chief Fangman, as always, is a tough act to follow. Luckily, I should have no problem following it up, being that I've got the caliber of the two gentlemen that we're going to be honoring tonight. Battalion Chief Adam Petticourt started his career here at Newport in August of 2004. Hired as a fire medic, became an engineer medic, lieutenant, captain, and then finally a battalion chief. And that just barely scratches the surface of the things that he accomplished here. Successfully led the EMS department for many years, kept us up to date on everything, as well as one of the best educators of paramedics, definitely across this area, if not farther than that. And he doesn't just stop at the fire department. He also spent time as a SWAT medic on the police department. I had so many things to put in his shadow box, I ran out of shadow box. So I still have some stuff in my office to give you. But 2004 to 2022, I thank you for everything. It's time for you to leave your fire family, go home to your wife, Mackenzie, your daughters, Reagan and Addie. I believe your mom, Mary Lou, and your stepdaddy, Ron, is here tonight. Thank you all for letting Adam be with us, his fire family. It's time to go home to your family. Also a plaque from the city manager, mayor, and board of commissioners. Thank you.
Next is recognition of engineer medic John G. Steiner.
This one might be a little tough for me. July 10th, 2000. John Steiner and I were standing here. We were actually in opposite positions. I was over there, he was over here. We were facing that way. We got hired together. July 10th, 2000, our first day at the firehouse for orientation was July 17th. John did 22 years and 3 days. I probably heard John complain 3 times in 22 years. They don't make them like John anymore. Calm, cool, collect all the time. There wasn't, I could count every time I saw him upset on one hand, and I've had fingers left over. John was a great guy to work with. Danielle, Alex, thank you for letting him come to his fire family every third day. John, it was a pleasure, buddy. I learned a lot from you. Some of those lessons, I wish I'd learned a lot quicker. But thank you. It's time for you to go spend time with your family as well. It's also your plaque from the city manager, mayor, board of commissioners.
Okay, it is 7:20. We're going to break until 7:35, at which time we'll reconvene. The family's going to come up and take some pictures around the table, and there has been an interest for people that wanted to sign up to speak during the public comment section. A couple people came in early for the meeting and said that they wanted to sign up, so we provided them a list. You do not need to sign up, but if you'd like to sign up, please sign your name. And when we get to the public comment section, we'll go through that process. So we stand in recess till 7:35.
Okay, if y'all are in the picture, stand right here. Act like you like each other.
You a young man? How you doing, bud? How are you? Yeah. That's why you smile. That's why I like it.
Can we get a picture? Okay. Get out there. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so let's see if anybody else wants to. Okay, heading forward.
she was excited.
Then it's up to you. Do you guys want to hold it just your families?
Take 5 steps that way, it's 10 degrees. Especially when it's cool and tired. Oh, everything. Yeah, even the brightest lights really need it.
Thank you. Congrats, buddy.
Carbon arcs. Carbon arcs. Carbon. No, they don't. Oh,
In here,
okay.
that's for the plaque. This is for your, protected.
Yeah. Actually, this is for sign. Oh.
You know what I mean? Oh, yeah, they're.
How to get that?
The store right still there.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah. Hardworking woman, hardworking. Let's get it.
I'd love you to move. Let's get rid of this penguin stuff. Man, it's amazing. They would have won. Yeah, they won the whole league if those kids weren't going. They got some incredible swimmers. I just wish they could get participation as well.
I think it's a great program. And they followed through on what they promised. Kids doing okay?
You know,
Yeah.
when I went,
Yeah, they're good.
I feel maybe
Soccer
4 times a month,
Yeah,
but when the session starts,
29 miles north Saturday morning, 29 miles back, and then I don't know where we're at this Saturday.
Were you up at Voice of America?
No,
Did you play up at?
no, we're
Amazing.
it's that I think, or close to it. But Sue was telling me, not this weekend, but the following weekend, she's got Saturdays. I
I said, you do know the gasoline is $3.50 a gallon.
Well, at least it's not 5 anymore, so you're doing better. And your car's pretty efficient.
Yeah.
I mean, you still got the
High on CRV.
CRV, yeah.
I perked up because I don't know.
Sometime I'd like to get together with you and the city manager and talk.
That'd be good. It's been a little while since we've done that. I actually brought that up the other day, because I said that you guys had met. Because I'm meeting a lot lately. And I really liked our time when we were able to do that together.
It's something personal, I'm talking about. Things are good. Right, yeah. Really good medicine. It was time. What did I get myself?
A lot of, are they into the patch work? I mean, pretty intense. Is it like a repair of mistakes?
She got on her road motorcycles.
I don't know.
You've seen how
Chaos?
the office down there, probably 5 times worse.
Who's on it? When you've been hearing it?
They did not believe in filing. And when Judge Mallow appointed me, he says, I just need you to whip them in shape. They just called it filing.
It wasn't a process.
The original one that I actually, I think 5 or 6 years ago, I came to you all. We went to this one, and this is the gold standard. I know.
For keeping you in
It's incredible. They're held on by magnets.
I can only see my text. I can read them.
That's why I always keep mine, because Lauren usually texts me like the mics aren't working, and 'cause most of the time I don't have my phone out.
Moving on up there. Yes. Moving on up.
Still got a couple minutes left. Well, that sounds like there's gonna be something good. It's amazing when things happen. It's like, they happen for a reason, right?
I didn't realize it was, and I'm making it more time consuming than it really should be. I should, but there's just no accountability.
Moved over.
Or is that outside of your,
No,
it's in your control?
yeah, and
I have a board that
I'm on the board.
should they tell Tom?
Is the chief, he appoints the chairman of the facilities manager.
Okay. Turning the mics back on. Mics are on? Joy, can you please call us back into session?
Commissioner Paluso?
Here.
Commissioner Recton?
Here.
Vice Mayor Paluso?
Here.
Mayor Gaduli?
Here. Personnel orders, we have none this evening. Public hearings, none. Consent agenda. Joy, can you please describe, or Tom, can you please describe the consent agenda?
This is an instrument that we use rarely. It's got to do with like topics and monotonous topics, if I can use that word. So in this case, these are tax moratoriums on several properties. And we put them under the consent agenda to save time instead of voting on each one individually.
So the consent agenda is items R48 through R55.
So moved.
Looking for a second?
Second.
Any questions?
For the audience, you want to talk about what they go with?
These particular consent agenda items are property assessment moratoriums. So there are a lot of properties that are in the process of, that have been bought, that are in disrepair and actually being reinvested in. And this is an assessment moratorium between the price that they purchase it for and the price that the end investment is. So it's an incentive. John, would you like to add to that, or do you think that was a good explanation?
I think that's accurate, Mayor, and I think the positive thing that we've seen is more and more people throughout the city have taken advantage of this. This used to be a, almost, not by rule, obviously, but almost supposed to be an East Road thing, and now we see people buying property they want to live in, all over town.
And these actual assessment moratoriums are geographically spread across the 3 miles of our city. So with a motion and a second and no other questions, Joy, please call the roll.
Commissioner Recton?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Paluso?
Yes.
Commissioner Paluso?
Yes.
Mayor Peduli?
Yes. That completes the consent agenda, and now we're going to move forward with public forum. During the public forum, there was a list, when people attended, they wanted to sign up. And do you have that list available? Okay, great. But before we actually move into public forum, I'd like to make a couple comments. And we know that a lot of you are here tonight to discuss the situation at Victoria Square. We believe that the developer handled this very poorly, and we're looking for ways to find solutions. I'd like to go over a few issues before we begin public comment, in an effort to let everyone know where we stand. The property of this sale escalated quite rapidly. It caught us off guard and ill-prepared. We first heard a rumor that Victoria Square was for sale in May. Several attempts to contact the prior owner for verification were unsuccessful. Since the sale and the notices of eviction, the city has had many internal discussions about possible solutions that we have the power to accomplish. Some of the discussions have centered on enacting local regulations regarding rent control. By statute, such powers are not permitted by law. Our first focus in our immediate response was how could we participate in a way which included the creation of a cooperative working group of various social agencies to provide the much-needed resources and assistance. I do want to share the people that came to the table with resources and assistance are the City of Newport, Neighborhood Foundations, the Newport Independent Schools, Brighton Center, the Northern Kentucky Community Action Commission, the NAACP, the United Way, Northern Kentucky Area Development District, the Safety Net Alliance of Northern Kentucky, Welcome House Incorporated, Legal Aid of the Bluegrass, Meals on Wheels of Southwest Ohio and Northern Kentucky, the Care Closet, St. Elizabeth Healthcare, VA of Greater Cincinnati, and St. Vincent de Paul, united in an effort to help people. The conversations on these Zooms were people-driven. They were very, very pointed in how are we going to help these people in the most difficult point in their lives. Additional efforts from the Newport Foundation and Brighton Center, Sunset agreed to pay $500 in moving expenses and extend eviction dates by 30 days. In our opinion, this isn't enough. We are currently working on longer-term solutions, such as phased construction restoration, and perhaps solutions such as a percentage of affordable units being made a component. But how do we gain leverage to get to the point is subject to further discussions. While affordable housing issues are both a national and a regional concern, This affects us locally. That's what we care about. We care about our people, we care about our residents, our family, and our neighbors. From all of us on the board, as well as the staff, we are extremely concerned about the well-being of our residents, our Newport family. We are also committed to continuing to work on this important issue with all remedies available to us. During your comments, we appreciate hearing your thoughts as to what you would like to see accomplished. Thank you. So as we go through, I have a list of people that would like to speak, and I'm just going to go right down the line in order. The first person on the list is Yvonne Chandler. Hey, Yvonne, for the record, your address is 506 Central Avenue,
Yes,
apartment 207.
right above the office.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. One of the ladies said she was homeless, and now she's not. Why would you want to do that to other people if you was homeless once? Now, how am I supposed to keep my insulin cold if I had no place to live? And I have no immediate family to help me. Everyone, my nieces and nephews, are surviving on their own. This was the only place I could live that I felt safe and secure in because it was a secure building. But I don't think it's fair. $500? What's that going to do? It's not going to give us enough money for a rent and deposit. If you leave your houses in good order when you leave, you get the $500. That's breadcrumbs. They should do more for us because they obviously don't care about us. And if they don't care about us, why should I give a damn about them? And my daughter paid $25 for background check to move into this place. Just for her to turn around and have to leave again? I am a fall risk. I have to have somebody with me. And she agreed to it. I said I would like to see a tornado take out the place where they do the concerts at and skip and hit Victoria Square. Someone says, well, you shouldn't be like that. Well, obviously my GoFundMe ain't doing nothing. Am I supposed to rent out a storage unit to sleep in? That's all it's going to cover. And they want to give us a little bit of breadcrumbs to help us get away. And there's nothing that can be done about it? I'm a registered voter. I hope something gets done about it. I know a lot of other registered voters. And I don't think it's fair. I've lived here for 7 years. And I prefer this place than I do Cincinnati. I moved from Cincinnati over here because I thought it was a better place. Yet I see people that's there with bracelets on stating that they live there. They don't. And I know there's other people that want to speak. I know you've got a short time, but I don't think it's fair. Because in order to get this places, you got to have cash up front. They're not going to say, oh, well, okay, I'll wait for you to get the money. They want it then and there. And $500 is not going to do a thing. Pay for a rental truck. It might pay for a storage unit, but that's about it. But we need some people to step up and help us. Brighton Center wanted to know my address that I was looking at to rent. Why? So someone could steal it out from underneath me? You need to be more proactive. You need to get out during a heat wave. At my age, looking, I went to sit down on someone's doorstep because I was going to pass out. And he says, go find someone down the street to go pass out. Get off my property, please. And I thought, Cincinnati to come here because I like it better here. And I don't want to leave Newport. And everything that they're doing now is out of Newport. And we need something done about this. I didn't want to come up here and cry, but it's the only thing I can do right now.
Sorry, Yvonne. I do have a question. Were you able to attend the actual resident program, or are you in the second round? So the connection to community resources, did you attend that? You did, okay. And you didn't find support or feel?
They give us mop buckets and moppets and stuff like that. I think they're preparing us for homelessness. They want their place cleaned up. But I attended it, and they said they're gonna have another one, and I'll probably attend it too. And then I applied for Section 8. Because my daughter's 30, she can't stay with me. So they had to take me off of that list, and then they said they'd put me on another list. And I said, okay. And then they said, but it's only outside of Newport. I said, I need to stay in Campbell County. I want to stay in Campbell County. I said, my daughter has a job in Campbell County, and she goes to school in Campbell County. We need to keep her in Campbell County. I don't think it's fair. They said that they heard rumors that they was trying to sell the place, but you know what? None of the rumors got to us. They kept it in-house, as they would call it. But none of it really pertains to me. And everything is so expensive. I had one couple from a homeless campment said, honey, if you don't have a place, you can come join us. There's safety in numbers. So it's not safe on the street. And I need something to be done about it. Because nobody wants to help. Especially my GoFundMe. But I'm not upset about that. But I don't have family like everybody else does. I'm the only one left of my immediate family. And my nieces and nephews, they can't help me out. They're in bad shape as it is. So I don't know what I'm supposed to do. Talk to someone else right now. Because I'm afraid I'm going to start using explicit language to the people of the office. But I don't think it's fair. We need help, and we're not getting it. I even contacted Rachel Roberts, the senator, and she said they're trying to pass an ordinance into law for affordable housing. I said, what does it do with me now? It ain't helping me out now. Well, if there's any places that I can call for you, they're not going to help me. They don't care. Just like when their alarm went off in the office. It's not what you told me. It's not my problem. That's what she said to me. So yeah, I need to get somebody else up here before I start using very foul language.
Catherine is next on the list. Is that your daughter?
Yeah.
Yes. Can you just state your name for the record?
My name is Catherine Chandler.
Thank you, Catherine.
Yeah, I would like to just follow up on that because she told you how rude the Brighton Center was to her. When I tried to call the Welcome Housing or whatever it's called, they said that they can only help people after they're homeless. Since we're not homeless yet, they couldn't help us. So, like she said, it seems like they're more like trying to prepare us for homelessness than actually trying to help us find a place. The Sunset Property Solutions done nothing but give us breadcrumbs, give us time to vote, and that's about it. And I have to stay here because I have a job. It's the USS Nightmare. I work there every year, so that's where I work. It's the only job that I actually like. I don't know if y'all like your jobs, but, I do, and I'm gonna keep it. And then on top of that, I'm going to college too, and my grants are requiring me to stay here in Kentucky. I have a Kentucky CAP grant, and then I'm working on getting a Butler grant. So both of those require me to stay here, or I can't pay tuition. And even if I move back to Ohio, that's more money. And then when we're trying to find a place, like she said, the issue is they want to give us the money after. You know what I mean? After we've moved out. In most places, they're not going to do that. They're not going to wait until afterwards for us to give them the money. And if we do, well, then we're lucky. And that's what we're probably going to try to do tomorrow, is talk to these people about maybe taking the money, after we move in, because that's the only way we'll be able to give the money to them. And when it came to my semester this year, I didn't get loans this year. So the most I got was probably like $542. And most of that went towards books. So I can't use that money to put in there. I asked for emergency funding. They decided to respond with $200 out of the $400 that I requested for. And I wasn't requesting it for like a deposit or anything like that. I was requesting it to simply move over the bills when we do move to another place. So nothing's being done. And I mean, the least you guys could do is try to make some way to where they could pay us beforehand, because there's no way that we can get the money afterwards and still have a place. Because most landlords will take that money afterwards, or the money before we move in. It's just how it is. That's how it is when I went to look for an apartment. That's how it's been when she's looked for an apartment. That's how it's been when everyone's looked for an apartment. And as far as this whole voting agenda, that's gonna backfire in your face if nothing gets done. Because, everybody's been sitting here getting to know everyone here. So if you think that we're gonna vote for you because you gave us until October 31st, that could backfire in your face today. You know what I mean? And these people back here, they'll tell other people not to vote for you too. So you'll end up losing votes instead of gaining. So that's all I have to say. Something needs to be done. Or, chairs are threatened.
Next on the list is Haley Powell.
Hi, my name is Haley Powell. I am the chair of the housing group, the housing committee with the Northern Kentucky branch of the Democratic Socialists of America. I have lived in Newport for almost a decade, and I currently live in the west side, just about 4 blocks south of the Victoria Square complex. So what's happening at Victoria Square is, and I've said this before, it's absolutely one of the most horrific and tragic things I have ever personally witnessed in my life. But in my opinion, what makes it so hard to digest is that this was all 100% preventable. Sure, you can't prevent the sale of a private property, and none of us are suggesting that or that the sale be reversed. We're not suggesting that. But what can be done is our elected officials creating protections for tenants, which I'm glad to say, or I'm glad to hear that you're already thinking about that. That really does mean a lot to me as a new resident of the West Side. And we don't know if or how long any of you have known about this. And I'm, again, glad to hear the transparency that it was only a few months. Unfortunately, the tenants should have also been notified because this affects them, right? You can't deny knowing this was going to happen. As a public servant and as intelligent people, I know you're all very intelligent. You have been following this housing crisis since, 2008? It was only a matter of time before it hit Newport. And now it's finally here. And the lack of inaction and the lack of preparation, in my opinion, is a policy choice. The 232 affordable units at Victoria Square make up 3.5% of Newport's households. That's a huge number. 3.5% of Newport's households are facing imminent displacement, not because of being rowdy tenants or bad neighbors or not paying their rent, but because the city never considered them a priority until now. When I contacted the Housing Authority to ask why their August meeting on August 8th was canceled, they said it was because there was no new business to discuss. So, I will repeat. The first meeting since the Victoria Square residents were given a notice to vacate was canceled by the Housing Authority because of lack of new business. I think this is shameful, and as our city commissioners, some of whom I have voted for you, I have in the past, you have to hold neighborhood foundations accountable. You have to do this and do it publicly. That's a shame. Your silence, not just your silence, but the city in general, since July has been deafening. You've made it clear that you want to be no part of helping your most vulnerable constituents. And unless you go on public record immediately by asking SPS, Sunset Property Solutions, to please negotiate with their tenants, we have to assume you are okay with and inviting of this reign of terror. I'm so glad you made that statement at the beginning, Mr. Mayor. I'm so glad, but it needs to be more public. I spend every free moment I have at Victoria Square talking to these tenants, and the number one thing I hear is, where's the city? We haven't heard anything from them. And to my neighbors at Victoria Square, you standing up for yourself and defending each other is the most hope I've ever felt living in Newport. I'm so proud to be your neighbor, and I will do everything I can.
Thank you, Haley. Charles Williams.
My name is Charles Williams. I live at 610 Isabella. I am a resident of Victoria Square. I'm also the vice president of the Westside Citizens Coalition. I'm a disabled veteran. I love Newport. I respect everyone in my presence. Many of you have heard me speak on this topic individually and publicly. As vice president of the Westside Citizens Coalition, my president, we officially sent a letter to Sunset Properties. They sent back a reply. They respectfully declined to speak, negotiate, or even deal with us at Victoria Square. My president has that official email. I stand here as a man of faith. I know I have only 2 minutes, but my faith has gotten stronger because there are scriptures in the Bible that speaks about there's a time for peace, there's a time for war, there's a time for crying, there's a time for laughter. I'm in the same predicament. I have to find somewhere to go. And my faith tells me that I and my wife will be okay. On behalf of the tenants and residents, many of them know that they feel alone, they feel abandoned. They feel like nobody is there for them. But they take it out on the, how can I say this? Sunset Properties acquired the property legally. They did nothing wrong. It was a legal, private business transaction between the past owners and the now present owners. It was legal. Morally, they had no consideration for the residents. I am a resident. I've been a resident almost 11 years. I appreciate those who want to help outside of the Victoria Square residents. The Victoria Square has a diversity of people in it. Some that are disabled. That's my main concern because I'm disabled. And some of them people are close to me, whether they're male or female, white or black, or even from a foreign country. And many are from down and so forth. Then I'm a grandfather. And if any of them people in the city know me, I'm about my grandson and those babies. I had an event that I sponsored with Newport Public School System this weekend, this Saturday, and it was well attended. I was a little disappointed because all my Victoria Square residents was not present, and it was open from 10 to 5. Newport School, Tony Watts sent out a flyer. So anybody who has a child in Newport system should have got the flyer, but they did not attend. That's on Victoria Square residents, not on the city or Newport School. There's a difference between slinging anger and slinging righteousness. I am angry. I know how to destroy. I was trained well. But this ain't a destroy type of conversation. This is a story we need to find solutions. There's a lot of property in Newport. I mean, I made it publicly a couple of times that says, every Tuesday, if I'm not correct, and I need to be checked, that the Campbell County or the city of Newport has housing sales, auctions, to buy property. Mr. Hayden, you are a lawyer. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Correct. Men come in this city, and they buy up blocks of property. I think one meeting we held on the council, Westside Citizens Coalition, and we talked about a housing possibility of putting together a housing structure to look at affordable housing in a public venue, low income, moderate income, to where the housing, there's grants that could be possibly looked at. But in my conversations, I found that Newport, because of the bond issue and so forth, can't I always get federal dollars coming into the city for certain grants because of the makeup. That ain't on us. That's on the framework of the city and the county. Newport is part of Campbell County. But Newport is a special kind of baby because it's independent. It's sovereign. Newport don't owe a whole lot of people. That's the beauty of and the attraction of Newport. Because you can come in this 3-mile radius and you can walk it. You can talk to people that don't look like me and you. And they'll say hi. I serve my country, so I have a different perspective on racial issues. You can be racial, have racism in you, but if you prejudice, it'll show. I'm a country boy, so I like to make things simple. You can be racist, but if you prejudice, it'll show. Because prejudice can be income-based. I don't like you because you got a house of $300,000. I'm living in an apartment. I don't like you because your mama and my grandmama had an issue. Your mama and my grandmama had an issue. Well, we don't have issues. But it's legacy. I got friends that I call my family, but they don't look like me. They don't look like me. They don't even talk like me. But they my family. I would live or die for them, and they know that. They love my wife, even though she a pit bull, but she the softest thing next to me. And she know it. She kicked my butt flat out. But we still got to go. So I'm going to make a request on behalf of my West Side community, because I am the vice president and I can do that. It's that simple. My president, I'm an executive member, my wife who's on the comprehensive committee. Yeah. We want to live here in Newport. We do. As an African-American couple, we want to live here in Newport. Now, I can go and get the racial disparities and the cultural issues. I've talked to the Brighton Center. I've talked to many of them. I respect the fire department, the police department. They come and shake my hand, hug me, from the staff up. But it ain't about me. It is because it's my living. I got to protect mine. But it's my residents, my mothers, my aunts, my nieces, my cousins, that if there's vacant properties in the city of Newport, I present this proposal to the board. If there's vacant properties in the city of Newport, the boundaries of these 3 miles, today I walked past a couple of them and I spoke with one of my police officials and asked him to see, because there's a lot of boarded buildings, boarded houses. In my travels, I went to a little town and they had houses that was for rent. The city is called PPP, Public-Private Partnerships. The city got with the landlord, the owners of the property. They got with the 501c3 organizations, and they came up with a collaborative to where, just like Section 8, well, people working cooperative to come in, fix the house up to where it's livable. I like to live flush. but hey. There's some people who just want to live moderate. Some people just want to have a roof over their head and a floor to lay on with a blanket. I've been there, did that. But if it's possible, you know, I did mention that I'm a man of faith. If it's possible, there's 13 religious organizations in the West Side. I haven't seen one pastor. I haven't seen one father. I haven't seen a rabbi. I haven't seen an imam. I haven't seen one. Period. If I'm lying, tell me, correct me. I'm grown. I get whoopings from my wife, but that's another subject. But if it's possible, I present this proposal that maybe if the city could get with the owners, the landowners of these properties in this critical time period and see if they can work with the city to put together a PPP, negotiate with the Brighton Center Corporation or the Brighton Housing or the Neighborhood Foundation that can sit down with a couple of us residents and leadership and see if we can work out to where it could be a win-win situation for not only the city from a tax base, not only from the county from keeping the people within this region, but also to help not only those that are disabled, but those families that need. There's residents that their kids going to be leaving the Newport school system. That's tax-based. That's education. and see if we can come up. Of course I want a house. Hey, I want to be hitting. But there's a lot of my residents that are leaving, and they have nowhere else to go. One of my favorite movies is Officer and the Gentleman. And he was getting beat down. And this sergeant said, quit! I've been to quit! You don't like it? Quit! He said, sir, nowhere else to go.
Thank you, Charles. Rosemary? Okay. Put my glasses on. Mr. Campbell? George? Is it George? You say your name for the record?
My name is George Campbell.
Okay.
I live at 225 Lewis Lane, apartment 103 in Newport. Mayor, Councilman, good evening to you. I'd just like to reiterate most of the points that were made here tonight by representatives of the residents and the residents themselves. It is a very tough time. It's a real thing. You know, rents went up 30% as soon as this went out into the street. It went from 500 to 1,200. I agree with everybody who stated up here. There's no way people can do that, not with the time constraint that's been put on us. Okay, I'm here talking in representation for the residents, my friends, the people that I grew up with. I've lived in Newport all of my life, except for 3 years when I went to Germany to serve my country in the military. Now, my wife and I have just come off a 12-month living on the street nightmare. Victoria Squares was good enough to take us in. I asked them, if I move in here, do I have security that I don't have to move again? Because my wife has stage 3 emphysema. I can't be running her all over the county. They guaranteed me that I have a lifelong place to live. As long as I pay my rent, as long as I abided by the lease, I had no worries. A couple weeks went by, I got a letter rolled up in my doorknob, very impersonal, I want to say, okay? Read it, boom, you've been sold. You now belong to a management company. Hey, who knew? 2 days later, I get another rolled up piece of paper. It tells me that I have 68 days to vacate my apartment. I looked for 12 months. It took me 12 months to find a place for me and my wife to be. All that time, I worked every day. I tried to be a productive citizen, but with the things that are happening in the city right now and the knowledge that I have, I'm an intelligent person. I've been around here a long time. I'm 64 years old. I've learned a lot of things on the street because I grew up in the housing projects, which was also taken, and people were displaced from there. Now, they were given an allotment of $10,000 to relocate by the federal government and by the state. We're being offered penance. The minimum I would ask for is $2,000, and for the city to facilitate some kind of meeting between the residents and this management company so that we can discuss these matters. These are real issues, real people that we're talking about. We're all citizens, right? We're all Americans, right? When we came in this room tonight, we all said the Pledge of Allegiance together, right? That makes us equal, in my eyes. It does. We're not being treated fairly or equal. We are being run out. It feels like ethnic cleansing to me. I'm old enough to remember what the Nazis did in Germany in the 30s and the early 40s, and that's exactly what they did to the Jewish people, and that's what's being done to us. I don't know if it's because of economics, of position, status, or what it is, but we've just been thrown in the garbage can. We're collateral damage. That's what they call it in war, collateral damage. Oh, we didn't mean it. But there it is. That's it for me. And thank you for your time.
Thank you, George, for coming. Thank you, George. Mariah Norris.
I'm Mariah Norris. I reside at 536 Central Avenue, right directly behind the jail. I wrote my speech to kind of try to keep things tight for us. I have a dream. As I honor the late and great MLK and borrow his words, I too have a dream. It may not be MLK, and this isn't about race equality, but this surely is about class discrimination, or for better words, gentrification. I speak these words with the same conviction as I dream of a world less cruel, or locally for a city to care more about all of its citizens, not just the wealthier ones. As I said, I am no MLK, but surely I hope to create my own legacy, starting here today in this community standing before you. Let me introduce myself. I am Mariah Norris. I only just joined this community in December of 2020. I was born and raised in a quiet river village just 15 minutes to the east here of Cincinnati. I mean, it's Ohio, it's not Kentucky, but it's still within 15 minutes here. Before my arrival, the most I've ever known of Newport were the businesses on the levee and the riverfront, never having stepped foot in any of the residential side, not even seeing any of it, just straight to the levee and that's it. Having moved here and truly getting to know the rich history of this community and my neighbors, it saddens me that once hometown feel is rapidly dissipating for too many of your West Side citizens. Mr. Peluso, Vice Mayor, have you not openly stated that you are proud to be a member of a successful, transparent team that has seen an economic upturn in both business and housing markets in a city that still holds a hometown feel while welcoming and appreciating thoughts and ideas? I don't think many of us West Side citizens, not limited to Victoria Square, would agree with that. What about you, Commissioner Jerry Peluso? Did you not state that during your time in office since 1988, Newport has not only changed in a good way, but a phenomenal way? Do you not believe that it is important that as elected officials in a city as a whole, that we continue to work together to improve the quality of life for everyone? We have all not seen us working together, we have not seen us working together at all through this whole time. Had it changed in such a phenomenal way, we would not be in this very predicament. Or what about you, Beth? You have spent 30 years in this community and serving since 1992. Didn't you state exciting changes have occurred during my tenure, from transformation of the riverfront development of numerous large-scale projects in all parts of town and increased citywide residential opportunities? Simultaneously, city staff, partnership with the board, residents, businesses, and neighborhood groups has improved infrastructure, parks, streetscape aesthetics, and neighborhoods. Due to this combined effort, Newport is enjoying its most exciting growth and popularity since inception in 1795. Yes, it is indeed seeing new growth and popularity, hence why the already limited market has little to no availabilities, and the exact reason why SPS even showed up in the first place. Also, where are those very improvements in the West Side? Where are they in the West Side? It's mostly East Side, on the other side of Monmouth and York, some throughout York, but where's that on the West? Mr. Recton, was it not you whom I specifically asked at the NAACP meeting? Asked why was there not better preparations for incident as such? If I'm not mistaken, your response was that about owning up to the fact that there are flaws where you all thought you were doing good, but regretfully realized too late it wasn't enough and resources already stretched thin. I will commend you. You've only been the person that showed up for us. Pardon my direct and maybe aggressive and agitated approach, as since July the circumstances have been rather strenuous on not just my patients, but my well-being. There is no denying the many good things that have come about Newport and the direction it is headed. No one will say improvement is a bad thing. We all want to see good things come about the city too, but not at the expense of our lives. We don't want to see improvements that uproot our lives, that have lived here just as long as each and every one of you. I don't want to step on toes, but it is just painfully obvious how out of touch you seem to be what's happening and how long before it even happened. It's your job to know the demographics of your city you govern. It's your job to know that 53% of Newport's households are renters. majority of those renters are located throughout the west side as well. The only developments among the west side are mostly outsiders buying up your city's property to flip for a profit while pushing out those who are actually part of the history in this city too, whether it be directly displacing 232 units of us at Victoria Square, which is 3.5% of Newport's households, or indirect displacement by economic exclusion, where developers are buying up all of this property to rent out at above market rates. Rising costs of living as property values increases. Need I inform you that affordable is not synonymous with public housing? They are not the same. Affordable means affordable typically for the hardworking citizens like myself who make too much for any form of assistance, but cannot afford $1,200 a month, which is the average rent right now in this lovely city. That's an incredible but ridiculous jump I'm coming to find out for myself. I am being forced to move out of my home into a market with non-existent availability that actually no longer suits my working class budget. If you or anyone think that it's only because of inflation, you're oblivious. As us Victoria Square residents, we've had a front row seats watching the construction of Ovation unfold. And then also watching gentrification unfold. It's one thing to buy up dilapidated, abandoned property to fix up nice while improving a community, but it's a whole different thing to buy up an entire complex and kick every single family out just so they can cater to a higher end market. That is literally the definition of gentrification. You see, it's not just business when it's my shelter, when it's a basic human necessity to thrive. It's my life, it's our lives, it's people's lives. Legal does not always make things right nor humane. We have been cast aside. We are being forced out of this community, as some even have to leave the state just to find affordable living. I might have to go home to even find an affordable apartment for myself or even move back in with my father. Some are even talking about their only option is living in their vehicle, as if what little we have offered actually makes an actual difference, or even the overload of resources that actually doesn't even provide shelter over our heads. I mean, a mop bucket and a mop, how is that going to find me a place to live? As I conclude what I have to say, let me ask you this. How would you feel if you were in our shoes? Would you be happy with yourselves if the roles were reversed? We have accepted that there really is nothing we can do about keeping our homes. What we can do is ask for you to acknowledge that this is not only the beginning, or this is only just the beginning, that it's not just going to happen to us. It's going to happen to future residents too. We want you to also acknowledge that this alone sets a dangerous precedent moving forward for other developers. For the lack of your attention will allow other developers to do the same things time and again. We can all agree that it was all done legally, but as I've already said, legal doesn't always mean it's right nor humane. That is why going forward, we need better legislations to protect our renters, as 53% of your residents are renters. We need our city officials to have a better hands-on approach to all parts of the community and not just what looks best to the outside world. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Mariah. Kyle Randall.
Good evening. So it wasn't my intention to invoke MLK as well, but I was thinking of a quote this afternoon and actually had to look up who it was. It turns out it was MLK. In the end, we will remember not the words of our enemies, but the silence of our friends. As elected and appointed leadership of the city of Newport, every resident relies on you all to represent us. The first statement issued by the city of Newport when news broke was little more than a tone-deaf attempt to wash the city's hands of any responsibility. 3 major meetings have been held, one by the West Side Citizens Coalition, one by the NAACP, and one that was resident organized. Only one of you showed up to one of those. The city's leadership has ignored our calls for a special meeting to be held on this topic. In fact, I don't believe any responses were given. To date, there has been with the exception of this evening, no publicly released statements condemning the cruel actions of SPS. If you want this pressure off of you, I would make a suggestion of publicly condemning the actions of SPS. Make it clear that SPS's future requests for anything beyond essential services will be received by the city the same way that SPS has received the tenants of Victoria Square. Keep in mind that this isn't happening in a bubble, that the treatment of Victoria Square residents and the response from the city will be noticed by other developers. We as a community have come together in Victoria Square in solidarity, and I think it's time for you all to get on board and advocate strongly on our behalf. Thank you.
Thank you, Kyle. Judy Kappas?
Hello, my name is Judy Kappas. I live at 610 Isabella Street, Newport, Kentucky. I moved down to Victoria Square when I was 12 years old, 1964. I've never left. I've been in 4 different apartments through the years. I moved in with my mom and dad. I moved out into my own. And then I ended up moving back into my mom and dad's as they died, and I took care of them. I've lived down there my entire life. I thought I would die down there. I'm one of the fortunate ones. I got one of the bigger apartments down there. I have worked. I've earned all my furniture. I've inherited things. Of course, I've been told they're just things that you just don't need them. You can do without. Of course, anybody can. But again, I've had them all my life. I got my grandmother's things. I got my things. And with me having the larger apartment, I have been able to keep them. I am now selling my stuff, giving it away, getting packed. I'm packing up stuff. I have no idea where I'm going, but I'm packing. I'm one of the more fortunate ones. I have till the end of January. I have gone around to all these places, put my application in. They tell you it's a year waiting list to get into a place that I can afford. I have to leave my big apartment to go into 2 rooms. So that means I have to get rid of most everything, maybe a tenth of the things I've had. When you got to give up something you've had since you were before birth. My grandmother's bedroom set, my parents. Doesn't sound like much to anybody else, but it means something to me. These things are things, but they give me comfort. My mother and father are deceased. My grandmother is deceased. These things remind me of them. You can live without them. They're not necessary, but they are reminders of your life. Now, getting back to the original, when Victoria Square was sold, we got a letter. In the first letter, it stipulated everything was going to remain the same. There was not going to be any changes. 2 to 3 days later, we get another letter saying, get out, basically. Going to be in 2 phases. First phase, be out in September. Well, they extended it to October. Okay, then the second one, a phase, will be to the end of January, 1st of February. Going back to what I was saying, you go to these senior citizen buildings, they say there's going to be a year wait. I don't have a year. Where am I going? I'm packing. I don't know where I'm going, but I'm on the list. You're number 26, you're number 27, you're number 4, 10, whatever. You're on a list. And that's even sad, because in order to get into these senior citizen buildings, even 2 rooms, somebody's got to die, go in a nursing home, or just simply have to go live with another relative because they can no longer live at all on their own. So you gotta sit here and be like a vulture waiting for somebody to die so you can get in. And these are the things that people like me have to do. I have no children. I have no family. What I'm doing the best I can with my friends, neighbors, people trying to help me. I've been there for 58 years. My friend back here has been there around 30 years, maybe longer. The girl next to me, she's been there for, I think, 5, 6, 7 years. We have decided to make this our home. I have made it my home. Where are we supposed to go when they tell you you got a year waiting list? Just to get into 2 rooms, you have a year waiting list. You go out here and you hear things on TV, how true they are, I don't know. But you hear that these conglomerates are coming in and buying up all the real estate they could possibly buy. They buy it, you just talked about getting tax exempt on property that's being bought today. I heard you at the meeting. Okay, who's buying that property? How much are they gonna buy it at? How much are they gonna rent it out or sell it at after they get through putting a coat of paint on it? It's gonna be a lot more than what they bought it at, isn't it? Is it gonna be affordable for anybody like us? And will it even be ready by the time we're supposed to get out? Are they gonna extend those hours or days or whatever for us, for the ones that are supposed to get out in the end of January? Are they gonna extend us a month, 6 months? If we can't get out, where do we go? Am I supposed to go under a bridge somewhere? I don't know. Where are we supposed to go when you put your whole life in? One place. That's where you live. That's all I lived in my life. And now I'm told to get out. Like they said, they got it right. I understand this was in making 6 years ago. If Dee Broman knew about this 6 years ago, why didn't he start little tidbits out, what's going on? You know and I know nothing like this takes over one night. It is a progress, and he knew about it. I'm not blaming the people totally that bought it. I am blaming him, and I'm blaming you all for not seeing this and getting more places for handicapped, senior people, just older people. I'm 70 years old, and I'm not the only one in this room that's in this situation. And you go into I might have to leave and go, I'm trying to get in Highland Village is where I'm trying to get in. Again, it's on a list. Okay, you're on a list? Well, to get into that Highland Village even, 2 rooms. I think I'm 22, but I've been hurt, I'm 27. So you gotta wait for 27 people to die, leave something, before you can get in. Will that happen by the end of February? Or the end of January, rather? Don't know. That place out there, I think, has like 70 some units anyway. That's not very many people. The Victoria Square had 232, and that's less because 3 buildings have already been taken down and destroyed, so you could put that turnabout in there. Sure, we're eager to pay those people off and get them out of Victoria Square and help them out when they moved. We have no help. I'm here trying to pack by myself. You ought to see me around there. I'm bouncing off the walls, but I'm getting stuff done, little by little. It's getting done. At least I have time. What about the people that don't? I don't know what to say. I don't know what the answer is. I just know you need to start thinking about the future and putting up housing for people that are older. I was born in 52. There's a lot of us coming around the corner, and we're living longer now with the doctors and the medicine. And we gotta go somewhere. I don't know what else to say. Thank you.
Thank you.
I think the next name is Teresa.
Slusher?
Slushers? Teresa? West Fifth Street? Anyone on West Fifth Street that signed up? Okay, well, that's the number of people that have signed up on the list. Now, list was taken because people showed up early and they said, I'm here to sign up. You can still comment. So if you would like to address public comment, please step up, state your name for the record.
Hello, my name is Dewey Estep. I am a relatively new resident of Newport. I moved in here in May. Housing is very difficult to find, but we found a fantastic place over on Liberty Street. I decided to come to Newport because I have been in a very long-term relationship with a long-term Newport resident who we've now finally taken the step towards becoming husband and wife. And I'm hoping to spend the rest of my life in the city. I tell you, you don't take out a 30-year mortgage without, thinking about those next 30 years. And then immediately this happens. And I'm not a renter, I'm a homeowner now. But it's terrifying, because I live on the west side. I'm down on Liberty Street. And I consider every person living in Victoria Square my brother and my sister. They are my neighbors in the west side. They're working class people like I am. And I see them abandoned. And you talked at the beginning of this meeting, and that was very good, that you are very upset with how SPS has handled this. But we don't know that. We didn't hear any of that. The only assumption we can make when we hear silence is that you don't care. And it is nice to hear that there is some care at the beginning. That's fantastic. But it needs to be louder. And, hey, the past is the past, but it should have been sooner. Because now I'm worried about how long I'm going to be able to live in the west side with all these people coming in. Like, what's my neighborhood going to look like in a couple of years? Just to say a minute about, say, I don't know, let's get esoteric here, let's go. Heroes and villains of this story. Right now, we've got definite heroes and definite villains. Every single resident of Victoria Square that showed up to speak here, and even if they didn't speak, and even if they wanted to be here but they couldn't, I consider them the heroes of this story because they are standing up and they are not letting themselves be pushed around. Now, as for villains go, right now, SPS is certainly playing that role. They have most definitely stated that they have no interest in the lives of these people. What is undecided at the moment is what the Newport City government is. You definitely don't want to be villains. That much certainly is clear. But that needs to be louder. That needs to be stronger. We need to be talking together about how to help these people. We need to be talking together about how to let this never happen again. Because there's a lot more people who are under threat, under similar threat. Anyway, thank you very much. And I hope to be here for at least 30 years.
Thanks, Dewey. Gordon Henry?
Hello, my name's Gordon Henry. I'm a long-time, full-time renter in Newport my whole life, whether it was at River Chase, whether it was having a Section 8 voucher over on the East Row, and now I rent as well on Park. My career is also in affordable housing, so when everyone here has told you this evening that waiting lists are a year and a half out, That is absolutely true because there is not enough affordable housing at all whatsoever. Most of the jobs here in Newport are retail, customer service, bars, restaurants, renters. There are not enough housing options for them. One. Two, we also see there are no incentives in place for developers to do affordable housing. It's always developers who come in and who get IRBs and don't contribute back to the community. If these folks are not contributing back to the community, are these folks we want in our community? If they're going to come and request IRBs, I would like to see set-asides for affordable housing. I would like to see community benefit agreements. I would like to look into our zoning laws and doing different type of zoning in different neighborhoods besides just single family, because we do need multifamily. We do need more rentals. We do need to discuss with our folks who are struggling, right? Whether you're making a good amount of money or you have benefits, whether it's a Section 8 voucher or you're getting assistance, that is not enough time to find housing. It is a struggle, and even if Sunset Properties gave our folks a year to move, most likely they would not find somewhere to live. And we know Sunset Property has the ability to help these folks even more. They paid $28 million for this property. And do you think they're going to come and not come to the city when they start fixing it up and ask for IRBs? No, they are going to come to the city and they are going to request IRBs. And that's when we need to challenge them to do affordable housing set-asides, at least 20%. And if not, we do not award them IRBs, because we need to have these developers come in, be good stewards to a majority of our residents, not just a select few. Thank you.
Thank you, Gordon. Any other speakers? Please state your name when you get to the mic.
My name is Tanya Riley, and I'm not a speaker. I am a resident of Victoria Square, but we are one of the fortunate families who have found a place. And it was very sad because I have left behind so many beautiful people. And I can't celebrate our beautiful place or the next step with our family because I had to compete with people that's in this audience for the place that we got. And when you live in a United States of America, you don't feel united when you have to compete with people who you love. I'm a person of faith. And number one thing is love thy neighbor. And when you are divided because of situations that can be prevented with planning, like I understand budgets. I understand that I grew up in Cincinnati. I've traveled places. I lived in Minneapolis. My husband's from Minneapolis. I see immigration, that affordable housing. And seeing people downtown Cincinnati living in tents. I work downtown. I seen that people, they ran them out. And I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but there's senior citizens who are thinking they're going to have to live in tents. They can't even afford their medicines as right now. It's just the saddest thing. And as citizens, how can we allow people to lose everything when they haven't did anything. I understand that private business is business, but like, they don't, it's the hardest thing to look for apartments. And you're looking at one bedrooms for 1,500. I mean, my husband provides for us. We did not have to worry. But there's people who worked all their lives and they retired and they thought that their retirement was where they're at now. And they cannot go back to work. And they cannot pay $1,500 for one bedroom. And they're preparing to live under a bridge, or they're signing up for a homeless shelter. You have mental illness veterans who, I mean, people have talked them off of bridges. I mean, they're having flashbacks from war, and it's the saddest thing. You don't have answers for them. I mean, it's just sad. I take pride and I love this community. I had neighbors whose mother, her daughter came here to go to Xavier, and she looked at every place in the greater Cincinnati area, every place. And Newport was the safest and where she felt that her daughter could be safe at. Her daughter now is back home in Baltimore. And she gave me statistics. And one reason why I settled in Newport is because Newport is a small town. And the residents here have lived here almost all their life. Family is very important. And when you see businesses, you treat people like they're garbage and impersonable and like it's just very sad. And people like really look at leaders. They need leaders in time of distress. And they wanted, Ken, I'm sorry, you came and you made a present, and that's very respectable. And people, and I understand that it is rough being in the public eyes and being elected officials, and you have so many different businesses that you have to do. But sometimes when people are in crisis, they need to feel hope. They need to feel like the people who can maybe make a difference understands, that knows that they're there for them. Even if it's I'm sorry about what's going on, how can I help? People were calling the governor and trying to get a hold of the governor because they were so stressed out, so distressed, don't know what to do. They're getting turned away from everywhere. I understand that organizations are helping as much as they can, but they're probably under distress themselves. You're probably under distress. I mean, it's a sad situation, but there has to be further planning. I mean, I understand, like, it's just when you know that the city is moving in one direction, and you understand that you have a certain situation. I mean, Cincinnati they're planning their budgets 50 years in advance. I mean, they look at things that could happen 20 years. When you tore down the projects, we lived at River Chase years ago, and we moved here about 8 years ago when I became pregnant from Cincinnati because Newport is a very safe place. But knowing that those projects were torn down, there was citizens that are going to be, and then knowing that Victoria Square is an old building. It's not going to be there for a very long time. I mean, it could have been condemned in some places, knowing that residents could have been even if it wasn't bought by a private place. How does a city not plan to at least relocate a small percentage of their senior citizens into affordable housing or into the plan ahead? I mean, I just don't understand. I mean, I know you guys don't want tents outside. Of senior citizens or people sleeping in their cars. But I'm terrified that I'm going to be walking down with my son and we're going to see neighbors who we care for, we pray for, and that they're going to be not taken care of. And it doesn't look well in the city if this happens. It's just sad, and I just don't know what the future is going to hold for them, because there is barely any places that they can go to. And it's just, when October 31st, I was phase 1, when October 31st comes, people don't know what they're going to do. I mean, are those people going to, is the state, not the state, I'm sorry, is the private, is it Sunset Properties, are they going to be able to go and get an order to kick these people out legally? I understand they can go and they can start doing legal, I guess, evictions. And to me, that's just not fair if these people can have no place to go. I mean, what's the plan when the majority of these people can't find home? I mean, I know I don't have the answers. I know that you probably don't have the answers either, but 2 months is hard to find something that they can afford. 3 months is hard. I mean, I was competing with 100 people in a place that was, the landlord released it a day before we went and seen it, and she chose us the next day. And there's hundreds of people applying for the same thing. You have people also paying thousands of dollars now. They're up to thousands of dollars of paying for application fees. And they can't go, they're going broke just trying to apply to places. They don't even have first month's rent because they've spent so much money on application fees just to go see properties and be put on waiting lists. I'm speechless of these people. I mean, you have people, I love my neighbors, like my family. They are my family. We are family. That's how I was raised. I mean, I went to a private school all my life. And the poor, widowers, people that are unfortunate, you always are trying to help them. And it saddens me when you have no answers for them. God is the only answer I can give them. God, we need to pray to God. And it's a situation, it's not like a natural disaster. My family, I had family members, I have an aunt down in Hazard, Kentucky, who just went through floods. And this is what it feels like. This feels like a flood has just occurred to these people, to us. We are fortunate to be blessed with a place. We don't have to be left behind. But it's the saddest thing, because I don't want to leave my neighbors behind. I don't want other neighbors to have to feel that way either, not knowing that the security, where they didn't do anything wrong, They paid their rent. They paid everything. you know? And they thought that some of the people thought this is where they were going to die. This is their retirement dream, was just to die at this place. And now they don't know if they're gonna die under a bridge or, just saddens me that there wasn't, that greed takes lives in situations like this. And it just saddens me that more cannot be done for the future and for these people right now. And what's going to happen to them? I mean, I know we need solutions, but we need them fast, because 31st of October is coming very fast. And I don't want to see these people, you know, in their cars or under the bridges and not getting their insulin or getting their cancer medicine or not being able to go to radiation or seeing them actually relapse, I mean, from cancer. The stress could kill them as well. And it's sad. And it's hard to tell my young son and about how his neighbors, this is what we were supposed to do, is help our neighbors. And to teach them that sometimes there is greed and evil people who will not think about some of the most vulnerable people, which is, you know, the senior citizens. We're supposed to take care of our grandparents. We're supposed to take care of our mothers and our fathers, and we're supposed to take care of our children. There is children impacted in this. And some of the children that were homeless, and then they found homes, and they're going to be homeless again. And it's a generation that now that these young kids that have experienced homelessness or could experience it again. And it's a generation of young people that it could be more effective ways of helping the future generations to succeed, and for the older generations to die in peace. I mean, and not have to be worried about a roof over their heads when they thought they did everything that they've worked hard for to provide for that, and then it just got wiped under their feet with no place to go and no answers. I wasn't going to speak tonight, but you know, sometimes you do things outside your comfort zone, and you take risks, and thank you for your time, but action speaks louder than words. And I would like to see some action anyway. I mean, even if it's going down and talking to some of the people and shaking hands and offering support of just, you know, compassion. It's just a sad situation. People need hope, and we try as neighbors to help each other as much as we can, but in certain crises, it's hard when you don't have the answers or the support or the directions that you can turn them to. And it is sad. I mean, I don't know how the assistants and all that stuff works. I don't go through the Brighton Center or any of that stuff. But they thought, when people called there and they thought they had hope, and then it got knocked right under them, it's like a roller coaster. These people's stress levels will go down and then it back up. And we're talking about people in their 70s, 80s, and it's a train wreck. And I hope that the situation and the solution is a positive one. And I hope in 2 months, the first phase, I really hope that these people get the hope that these are deserved by the city. I know that it's hard for you guys to do in two months, but they need as much support and hope that they can get. Thank you.
Thank you, Tanya. Any other speakers? Please state your name.
My name is Cheryl Sorderup. I do not live in Newport, but I was a teacher in Newport, and I'm currently a teacher in Covington. This affects us all, and I think what everyone here tonight wants to know is what you are going to do. Does anyone have an answer for that? Can you give us a timeline? What day can you announce what you are going to do? Are you going to allow the people to be literally thrown out of their apartment and have their stuff removed and thrown into a dumpster on October 31st? Because I will not stand by and just let that happen. I might get arrested, but I'm going to show up on October 31st, and I'm going to stand in the way of the people trying to remove the citizens who have not been able to find a place to live. Are you going to throw them out? Are you willing to do that? Are you going to walk up to that person and look them in the eye and carry them out of that apartment? Or are you going to do something? Because the previous speaker was right. Actions speak louder than words.
Thank you, Cheryl. Are there any other speakers? State your name.
My name is Clay Elliott. I'm a resident of Covington. I'm here out of concern for the residents of Victoria Square. What SPS has done and is doing is unconscionable. What they've offered to give these people is nothing in relation to the money that they've spent to acquire that property. These are people with nowhere else to go. People who are being told by the system that their lives and their community are not worth saving. SPS has shown that they have very little respect or concern for these people, so it's evident to me that the help needs to come from elsewhere. It's getting more expensive for everybody. The working class everywhere is being squeezed. Affordable housing is getting more and more difficult to find. There's to be protections for working class people everywhere, or else society is going to fall apart. There's a phrase I like very much. It's there but for the grace of God, go I. And the explanation I found for that online is that this proverb is an expression of humility. In using it, a speaker acknowledges that outside factors such as God's grace or one's upbringing have played a role in one's success in life. I urge you to think of what you would do if the positions were reversed. If you were displaced and looking to your city officials for help, what would you expect? What would you need? These people need you. And I urge you all to do everything you can for them, because it is the moral thing to do.
Thank you, Clay. Any other speakers? Well, I will answer your question to the best of my ability, because there's many challenges that surround this particular issue in regard to legal terms and how we have authority to interface and engage. So the answer is I cannot answer that question. Now, what I can tell you is that there were some comments and questions posed to me through this that I'll go ahead and make comment to before we move on to the rest of the meeting, because typically we would move on to the rest of the meeting. And the questions that were asked during the construct of this meeting were often asked in a way not in search of an answer, but there are some that do deserve an answer. And I think that probably the single largest is the perception of a lack of response from the city. The city did respond with the limited information that they had. And words ring hollow. So the goal was to create a wraparound framework of services, of support, and be prepared to present that. And that was the purpose of these facility events that are going to be held with all the social service agencies, with an intent to support each individual case. Whether you're a veteran, there's veteran services that are carved out to support and help them in transition. If you're older, there are senior facilities that you are moving to a top of a list, which the list may have been much longer than that. So all of these things are an effort to support and find the balance of items that identify your particular group to get you housed. So the reason we were not vocal and continuously saying things is the goal was to first have answers of what we were able to support and how we were able to partner these agencies to support you. Some of you probably attended, and some of you may not have. And different people have left that with different levels of satisfaction. And there was a meeting held today about how do we make it better when we do it again, and are the people that came the first time able to come to feel supported. So these are ongoing meetings that are occurring with all the partners that I expressed earlier, meeting a couple times a week to target this support, to help. That may not be enough, it may not sound like enough, but there were lots of questions posed during this. Should they get incentives? Incentives should have this. Should they not? They should never be eligible for incentives. That's a big question. Those are the things that you discuss as you move forward, maybe not with this particular, but looking ahead at other developments and other opportunities. So lots of questions were posed here. We have not actively met with them. You heard the response that the neighborhood received. That doesn't feel good. So as frustrated as you are, you're not alone. I'm frustrated. I don't know if I wore it as well, but no one is happy about this situation and what it's doing to our community, our residents, our Newport family. So I don't know if I answered your question well, but I'm answering it from my heart and how I feel. Because there are plenty of statistics out there. We can talk about what happens in other communities, and we're not alone, and how this is not a Newport problem. But it's a Newport problem tonight, because I'm hearing from all of you. I'm seeing you. And I wasn't at your meeting because I was out of town on a business conference, but I would have been there, and I'm here tonight. And I'm here every day, and my cell phone is everywhere. And I received a lot of phone calls, and I'll take every phone call. Because I care about all of you, and we all care about all of you. Though you may not feel it, it resides within each of us. So there's work to be done. The path is not clear. But I promise you, as I said in my comments earlier, we're going to work towards a solution, actively, engaged. I don't know what it's going to be. I don't know what it looks like, but we're going to work towards it. I'm sorry? Want to restart all the public comment? You will be the last speaker.
My name is Kurt Parks. I am a resident of Newport for the last about 3 years. So you mentioned that you're pretty constrained legally speaking. And I just want to clarify it. As I understood the order of events was these tenants were ordered to vacate around like September and January. And then there was a meeting, and then SPS offered $500 and moved 30 days for some of these tenants' evictions. You did not exercise any authority in that decision, right?
That did not happen directly with us. That happened in conjunction with Section 8 discussions with the Newport Housing Authority and Brighton Center, correct? We were not party to that discussion.
But like, so I'm just trying to clarify. What caused them to like allow to reverse their decision and like give some amount of concession?
Because there were details surrounding Section 8 vouchers, and the goal was to extend the time to allow and afford them opportunity to port out or utilize their vouchers somewhere else. There are many moving parts within this because there's so many different groups of people that are affected. Section 8 vouchers is one of the parts that is affected. That triggered a meeting with the Housing Authority at which Brighton Center attended as well. The result of that was, this is not fair. You need to provide something to them to assist in their movement, and we need more time for this first group because it's just too short. It's going to turn into a huge problem. So that was the discussion. Sunset stepped up and said, we don't want to do anything, but we will.
But so no law was cited. No, they were not forced legally to do this.
No, they're not forced. There
they were
is no
pressured.
law that surrounds, John Hayden, what are the laws surrounding this particular situation? Just to,
So, I try to answer his question. I know that's one of the things that you had brought up before, Mayor, about, rent control is one of the things that gets bantered about here, which we're statutorily prohibited from doing. And one of the issues with the city as far as if we can exert influence or pressure over them, and I think that they do feel pressure from the community and the things that are going on out here. From the city side of this, if we can exert pressure, we have to find a way to get some leverage. Now, we can do that to a degree through making sure that they abide by all of our zoning, all of our code issues, they maintain property to a certain degree, things of that nature. When you get into, can we buy more time, more money, how do we extract that from the developer? So theoretically, you could do that through some community-based agreements, some things that Mr. Henry was discussing, things that we talked about. I'll give you an example. The city manager can speak more to that, is about incentives, and if we were to give them anything as a city incentive-wise, what are they going to give back to the group of people that have been displaced or harmed? And then you have to weigh that as to whether them giving somebody more time necessitates that we should give them some sort of tax abatement or something of that nature.
You're saying that, but there is non-legal pressure you're able to exert on them, because they were pressured non-legally to give these $500 and an additional 30 days. So non-legal pressure is possible, is what you're saying.
well, pressure is always possible, but to his point, pressure is only effective with leverage.
And what did the Section 8 Housing Authority, what did the Housing Authority have leverage over them?
I'm not sure of the details of actually how that legally is structured. I don't think it's substantial leverage.
What they were able to get that concession out of them?
You're using the term pressure, so I wasn't party to that conversation. But what it was a request.
Yeah.
So the door was opened up due to the Section 8 vouchers when the head of the Housing Authority, head of Brighton Center, had an opportunity to talk to the new buyers, Sunset property. And so it was requested.
Yeah.
Now, when I use the term pressure, I'm looking at something else, something where we do have something over them.
Yeah.
For this. Because like someone said earlier tonight, they basically said we don't have any legal force them into do anything.
Yeah.
For that. So,
The housing authority clearly didn't have any legal mechanism either, but they still managed to get something out of them.
But the meeting was called by Sunset to understand more about Section 8 vouchers, because they didn't understand them,
Yeah, but,
which is a difference.
but concession was made non-legally.
Well, you call it concession, a request was accepted and granted.
Okay, but I mean, I wouldn't call that concession, but they, as in more, SPS technically can potentially give more non-legally.
Any building, any owner can give whatever they want. So yes, they can always give more, sure.
But usually but like other, like government institutions can interact with them and cause them to give more.
Mayor, I think that.
I don't
I think that-
understand the
I think
question.
maybe to answer, to be a little more direct, yes, correct. We can do those things and hopefully they would help, and that's part of the ongoing conversation that we have all the time. And that's one of the things, and city manager can elaborate on the, some more of that, but yeah, absolutely. I mean, and that's a plan all along, that it's not enough time, and what is being said is correct. I think everybody here, on the staff level and on the board level was flabbergasted that these people came in and gave their residents a notice on one day, and I think they in River City News or one of those publications basically saying everything's cool, it's the same as it's gonna be, and then several days later, we hear just the opposite from them. So, yeah, this is a big concern. It's been a concern that there's not a day that goes by that we aren't talking about that, strategizing, how can we do it? What's the ways that we can maximize our leverage? What's the ways that we can look at things legislatively? So all those things are on the table. It's difficult because we want to share some of those things, but a lot of it's preliminary. A lot of it's back and forth and research and making sure that we don't do something that creates liability for the city and doesn't help the residents at all. So those conversations are going on, and I think that is the plan, that we're going to exert as much pressure as humanly possible to give everybody here as much time as they need.
Yeah, I just wanted my point to be clear that yet you do have legal avenues, but you do have non-legal avenues to potentially get SPS to give more to these tenants, is all my point is. Thank you.
Thank you, Kurt. All right, we're going to resume well, I should first ask, those were all comments regarding Victoria Square. Are there any other comments for public comment? Again, public comment is closed now. We're going to move on in the agenda. So we are at approval of the minutes, regular minutes of July 18th and special call minutes of July 21st.
Second.
Joy, please call the roll.
Vice Mayor Plusso. Commissioner Recton.
Yes.
Commissioner Plusso.
Yes.
Mayor Kaduli.
Yes. And thank you all that are leaving for attending, and your comments are appreciated. Old business, second reading of ordinance number 6.
An ordinance of the Board of Commissioners of the City of Newport, Kentucky, amending Section 130.24 of the Code of Ordinances regarding the discharge of weapons and providing a penalty for a violation thereof.
Second.
Any comments on the board? This is a second reading. Joy, please call the roll.
Vice Mayor Plusso. Yes. Commissioner Recton.
Yes.
Commissioner Plusso.
Yes.
Mayor Kaduli.
Yes. Second reading of ordinance number 7.
An ordinance of the Board of Commissioners of the City of Newport, Kentucky, repealing Section 37.094A of the Official Code of Ordinances concerning credit for the occupational license fee payment requirements for ADT LLC, previously approved for inclusion in the Kentucky Business Investment Program, KBI.
So moved.
Being a second reading, Joy, please call the roll.
Commissioner Recton.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Plusso. Commissioner Plusso.
Yes.
Mayor Kaduli.
Yes. New business, Commissioner's Order number 46, Resolution number 46.
An order of the Board of Commissioners of the City of Newport, Kentucky, authorizing and directing City Manager Thomas J. Fromey to execute a contract with Paul Michaels and Sons to remove and install a section of storm sewer pipe to allow for this transfer of stormwater from Memorial Parkway to Waterworks Road Creek.
Second motion. Great. You want to speak to this?
Yeah, Mayor, these are oftentimes difficult situations to deal with. Over the years, and I can't even recall how long ago we started dealing with these situations. But historically, the city never dealt with water runoff or stormwater runoff or spring water runoff throughout all the years. And then probably over a decade ago, we took up the first one, and I think it was Broadway was the street it was on for that. And since then, we've made a concerted effort to deal with these as they arise, based on available funding for that. So I have another one I'm looking at currently for down the road. Oftentimes, the solution is probably 2 years in the making. By the time you get through engineering and get SD1, if it's an SD1 issue, to participate in the cost of it to deal with. So this is the case here. Now, what is the direct cause and what caused that? I'm only speculating, so I won't say it out loud. But it does water that comes from Memorial Parkway. It's labeled Memorial Parkway. When I've talked about it in the past, I always use Waterworks, because the direct effect of the water runoff may originate off of Memorial Parkway, but it ends up in Waterworks Road. So we had a resident whose driveway's been decimated due to the erosion caused from. Now, this will solve that problem as well. Of course, we also don't want the runoff eroding the hillside there over the creek off Waterworks Road as well, because that can create additional problems. And we've had landslides there over the years through that creates problems for us. As you all know, we were forced into building that dam on Waterworks Road years ago. So keeping that creek is important to us for the long run. There was some bids. I put out a bid packet or bid tabulation to the board earlier today. I apologize for I overlooked it when we put the agenda together last week.
You had mentioned that one on Broadway where we started the program, where the ice buildup was very severe, where we had various accidents, people fell going down Broadway, and also on 16th Street. And SD1 became involved with that one, and that was when the renovations to the catch basins at 16th and Monmouth. So it's just one of many that we've dealt with.
We have had many, but I can tell you that I am personally frustrated with the relationship of water that comes into our community through our streams that we are held responsible for. At least it is a cost share, so you got to find the hope in these things, even though they are frustrating because of the origination of the water. So, any other questions on the board?
Yeah, I'd like to make a statement, Tom, if you don't mind.
Mhm.
Yeah. What I'm concerned with here, and I'm speaking to the mayor and board, is that there are actions that predate me even, on being on the board, and there's issues. So again, I'm going to make a plea that we have a project management software, a simple spreadsheet, something, and I've talked to the vice mayor about this, and I've talked to you about it before. We got to have a tabulation of these projects and their status so that we know what's going on. So that's my only statement. Thank you.
Ken? Any other comments?
I agree with Ken. We had that conversation. I believe that it's vitally important that on a monthly basis, if not monthly, at least quarterly at the least, that we get updates on the projects, the issues that are before us, so that we can plan properly to work on them in the future and to budget for it. I mean, this is a considerable amount of money, and I know that 16th Street was a considerable amount of money also. But I agree completely with the management software.
I'm sorry, but Vice Mayor, but if I may interject, I'm sorry, I left that out of my presentation. This is a budget item.
Okay, thank you.
Just to let you know that. So, thank you.
All right, Joy, please call the roll.
Vice Mayor Paluso?
Yes.
Commissioner Paluso?
Yes.
Commissioner Recton?
Yes.
Mayor Gurdulli?
Yes. Commissioner's Order number 47.
An order of the Board of Commissioners of the City of Newport, Kentucky, declaring certain personal property of the city of Newport as surplus personal property and authorizing disposal in accordance with state law.
So moved.
Second.
Tom, you want to update us on what that process is going to be? It's
Yes, sir.
typically
They're
online?
all from the police department on seized vehicles, and they're all classified as junk.
Oh, so they'll go scrap, or they're still going to go, okay.
That's what the order read.
All right, perfect. Please call the roll.
Commissioner Recton?
Yes.
Commissioner Plusso?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Plusso?
Yes.
Mayor Gardulli?
Yes. Commissioners' order number 56.
An order of the Board of Commissioners of the City of Newport, Kentucky, accepting and approving the bid of and authorizing and directing the city manager to enter into a contract with Exxon Enterprises, Inc. for the purchase of body cameras and related equipment and services for the use in the police department.
So moved.
Second.
Mayor, we have a representative from the police department to discuss body cameras.
Yes.
You have a presentation, right?
This is Lieutenant Darren Arberg. He's our patrol commander as well as our SWAT commander. He holds very important positions in our police department. I fondly remember putting together this program, I think 5 years ago now. Lieutenant Arberg's taken it to the next level with the industry standard that he's right now.
So this year, we kind of, we're at a problem where we have to renew a contract. That would have been with Wolfcom, and we've decided to part ways with Wolfcom. It was a great program to start with, and we've been with them for about 5 years. But we've had some issues with them, equipment, so on and so forth. So starting around April this year, I started speaking with a salesman from Axon, and I did not want to just jump into another program. So we have been demoing this Axon device, and as everybody knows, it's pretty much impossible to do this job without a body camera these days. You have to have it, not only for evidence, but to keep us in check as well. So what I want to kind of show, I got a couple props. This is the first camera that we had, very little. This is the next one. This is what we currently use.
Nice. It's been well worn.
They're nice devices, but we do need to move into the basically industry standard, which is Axon. And I'll just go ahead and pass this around. It's a solid piece of equipment. Very durable. The video is by far the leader in the industry. The sound is superior. It's got 3 microphones on it. With this one right here, I've reviewed evidence and body cameras, and sometimes you can't hear audio outside of the person talking, wearing it. You won't have that problem with this one. Also, with this program, we will have a device on our holsters. If we do pull a gun, it will automatically trigger that to turn on for evidence purposes. That would be very important in one of those critical type of situations. Moving past the body camera, the evidence management system is by far superior to what we've had and more efficient. So with all that being said, I would like you guys to, ladies and gentlemen, to approve this program to move the police department into the future for evidence and evidence management.
Are there other police agencies that use this particular type?
There are several. Cincinnati is one of the big ones around here. Kenton County currently, I think within the last year, moved from Wolfcom to Axon. And they're not just doing it because. They're doing it because Axon's the better product. I can't tell you how many hours I've spent with evidence alone with Wolfcom trying to get it to the prosecutors. That time will be cut probably tenfold. Trying to get that evidence to the prosecutors. There's like a 3-step process with these. It's basically a 1-step process with that.
Well, that was going to be my question. Data management has always been the challenge with these things, and actually access and then getting the things you need. It's 10 times faster, or is it even more than that because of other things?
I'm guessing, I mean, because, so I'll give you an example. With this camera right here, I might have 6 officers with, and they go for 30-minute increments. So I may have 30 videos for one incident. I have to download each officer's individual. I have to download it, put it on a file where I save it myself, and then I have to drop it into a Dropbox where the county or Commonwealth attorney gets it. That process might take 2 hours, hour and a half, where now I can get into Axon, I can check every video, I hit send, it creates a file, and it sends it to Commonwealth attorney with a link, and they will have every video probably within 5 minutes.
That's great. That's elite.
Yes. So
Can you talk a little bit about software updates?
the software updates, with this, we had to pull this off of our officer, and we had to personally go in and update it. With this, if there's an update, all we do is plug it in. When we download body camera, if there's an update in the system, it'll automatically go into that body camera.
I know the numbers are in here, and I remember reading them. 135,000? Is that what it?
155 in a 5-year.
Okay. So is that one-time payment, or are we paying that over the 5 years?
Per year.
It's annual. It's annual.
So it's 30,000 a year-ish?
Rather, yes. So is there an advantage to making the payment up front? Can we ask? Can we ask?
It could be done either way. I believe, I talked with the salesman, some departments do it if they have that in their budget, or they pay it over the 5-year period. Now, within that 5-year period, if there is a new camera that comes out, they give us the new camera. If a new camera doesn't come out, they'll replace that camera twice within 5 years, and these things take a beating. And they're quick. They said that if we damage one of those units, we can probably have a replacement within a day or two. And with this package, we'll get 2 extra cameras in case there is an issue. Say it falls off in a fight and it gets ran over by a car, it can be replaced with one of our extra units.
Sometimes I ask some of the difficult questions. What's the bad side of this system?
Cost is the only thing, but almost every body camera company now is moving towards a 5-year program. A lot of them are cloud-based systems, and I will tell you, currently we have a in-house server. If this building went on fire tonight, we would lose every bit of evidence. With the cloud-based system, they save all evidence on a server, and it's backed up on a separate server. So if their facility goes under fire, they have it backed up somewhere else.
Is this bid under state contract with Kentucky or any other federal or state purchasing contract?
The answer, I think if it was, I wouldn't have had to go through the bidding process.
So you did go through a bidding process?
Yes, yes, sir.
How many bids did we receive?
We did receive 3 bids.
That's all I have, Mayor.
Any other questions on the board?
The field of view of this one, is it better than this one?
I believe it is. I've seen both cameras. That one kind of has more of a fish-type lens, so it picks up a little more. But I will tell you, the sound is phenomenal compared to this. And sometimes we were trying to listen, and I would turn up and put headphones on just to try to make out what other officers around them are saying. One other thing I want to add, if an officer does trigger their body camera, say there was a fight that broke out when we're standing on the street on Monmouth, outside huddles, for example, or something like that, and one officer hits their camera, any officer within 30 feet, their cameras automatically kick on.
The cloud-based storage, do we have a limited amount of storage?
It's unlimited. They say we can't really, it would be hard to get to a certain limit, but it's expandable unlimited. So like with our server, we are maxed out right now. The server that we have in-house has to be replaced.
That was going to be a question. You talked about the cloud and then its redundancy. Is it still going to go to our server when it's upgraded or not?
No,
Or is it to be determined?
100% cloud-based.
Okay, 100%. All right. Well, it sounds like this is a technological leap forward. That's a tough word from technological.
Yes, sir.
And it's going to save a lot of time. And I appreciate your continued work on this because this is something that we expressed as an interest of having, these cameras and having them not only work, but be at a high level. So thanks for the time and effort in making sure we got the best of the best.
Yes, and just furthermore, I want my job to be easier, but not just mine, the next person.
Yeah.
It's not just me, it's for the department and the guy that takes my position, so.
You're not announcing anything today,
No.
are you? Okay, good.
I've got 5 to 6 years at least.
Great.
I've got a
Glad to
baby
hear
at
it.
home, 2 babies actually, so I'm gonna be busy for a while.
Well, thank you so much.
Thanks. All right.
Chief, you want to add anything? Chief?
No, Lieutenant did a great job with that. I appreciate all the input. It's an estimate, but I just want to let everybody know amongst Cincinnati, Covington, Axon does have about 90% of the market. Everybody's trying to keep up with them is really what's occurring. Some do better than others, but none are matching what Axon's capable of. So it is the best body cam to serve our great Newport residents with.
I don't get to keep this?
It weighs a ton. It's surprising how much that thing weighs. Yeah, cool.
Again, thank you. Joy, please call the roll.
Vice Mayor Plusso.
Yes.
Commissioner Recton.
Yes.
Commissioner Plusso.
Yes.
Mayor Guduli.
Yes. Commissioners' ordinance number 8.
Ordinance of the Board of Commissioners of the City of Newport, Kentucky, repealing Section 91.30 and 91.99 of Chapter 91 of the Code of Ordinances concerning fireworks and adopting new provisions with regard thereto.
So moved.
Second.
All right. City Manager Fromey.
This is in response, and this has been building to a crescendo over the last several years. So, as you recall, at one point, in the not-too-distant past, most of the fireworks were illegal in Kentucky. So a lot of people had to travel to Tennessee if they wanted to purchase fireworks. State law. There's still a fireworks store, big fireworks store, pass into Tennessee for that. But that's the reason it was there. So several years back, the state of Kentucky changed the laws regarding fireworks and legalized a lot of the previously illegal fireworks. I remember when sparklers and a few things like that were the only legal fireworks in Kentucky. Now you have Roman candles, a lot of other fireworks that are now legal. So this is just an effort to catch up with the change in law and make this illegal to be in a public right-of-ways, sidewalks, and things like that and fire fireworks. We can't dictate somebody in their yard. Now, if a particular case is a hazard, that's a different story. But in general, we can't restrict someone from using a state legal fireworks on their own property for that. This deals with right-of-ways. It doesn't address, though, single situations that could be hazardous conditions. Let's put a case-by-case basis. One thing that I have to bring up, this does allow us to deal with the right-of-ways and things a little bit easier. However, on July 4th, it's very difficult for we're a small town, and we don't have a huge police department, so it becomes very difficult because we get literally hundreds of calls on July 4th over fireworks. So the police department does about as good as they can do with what manpower that we have available to us. But this is a step in the right direction, for sure.
It also deals with the time.
It's a step in the right direction. And once if the board passes this on the second ring, we're getting ready to do a fall newsletter. So we're going to put that out there in the newsletter about the ordinance.
I got a call on my way up to the meeting tonight from Aaron Sutherland. He definitely supports this ordinance. He says a lot of cities throughout the year, they go on social media,
spelling out their ordinance that deals with fireworks. Two ingredients that needs to happen is education. People need to know what they can do and can't do, and also enforcement. This past July 3rd, I went down to the Sixth and Patterson Park area, and different parts of the West End at times during that period is a launching pad for these things. And it amazes me how much money people spend on letting these fireworks off, but what really amazes me is they don't clean up. And I've taken pictures the last 2 years of the aftermath. It's shocking is what it is. A lot of the times it's people from outside the community, they come here to party, and they let off the fireworks, and it's up to the residents of Public Works to clean them up. And this past year was so bad, they had to use shovels and street sweepers to pick them all up. So I know Kate can attest to what happened last year, 2 years ago. Right.
Any other comments on the board?
I would just comment how quickly the legal department and the staff got on this and took care of it. I appreciate it a ton. Thanks. That's all.
Yeah, this has been a concern. I think we even discussed it at the last meeting, is we need to respect each other and respect each other's surroundings, because these have been shot off in confined spaces, I think the word that, one of the words that you were looking for, because it's hazardous between two homes when you have a neighbor with an adjacent porch and children around. And those are the kind of things that we receive phone calls on. And as we started to look into the legislation, we realized that we needed an overall update. And it's been achieved in this first reading. And again, thanks to the legal department and the staff for working on this and responding to the concerns that we as board members get from many of our residents. So Joy, please call the roll.
Commissioner Recton?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Paluso?
Yes.
Commissioner Paluso?
Yes.
Mayor Peduli?
Yes. Commissioners' Order number 9.
The ordinance of the Board of Commissioners of the City of Newport, Kentucky, amending Section 30.025A2 of the Code of Ordinances concerning the schedule of regular meetings.
So moved. Second.
Mayor, this is truly the picture of bureaucracy. So the legal staff got this through training, and even though we set a schedule, a printed schedule every year of the regular meetings, and we don't schedule on holidays, so this was a recommendation. I had a in-depth conversation with Mr. Braun, our Mr. Braun, about this, what was the need for this legislation. And so this is here tonight. So from our perspective, it doesn't do anything. We don't say the third Monday of the month or whatever. We say one Monday a month for a regular meeting, and we do a meeting schedule. Don't send anything for a holiday, but this is something that's been, so.
But the difference is, if we said on any given Monday in a
On a
month
third
and
Monday or
dedicated
second,
it, that's
right.
where this becomes more critical. For us, due to the fact that we can place it on any Monday, we would never put it on a holiday that is Monday.
And this came up, Mayor, just to reiterate, at a KLC conference, and this was an issue that some cities had. Again, it doesn't really affect us because we don't do it that way, but if at some point in the future that we were to change how we schedule our meetings or announce how we had our meetings, we would still fall in line. Obviously, common sense says if Monday's a holiday, we're not gonna have the meeting that day, but this is what they say is best practice.
And you know what? That actually makes sense, because sometimes we would change it to a date, and then we wouldn't look at the rest of the sentence. So
Exactly.
this fixes that in advance. All right, great. Any other comments on the board? Joy, please call the roll.
Vice Mayor Paluso?
Yes.
Commissioner Recton?
Yes.
Commissioner Paluso?
Yes.
Mayor Peduli?
Yes. Commissioners' Ordinance 10.
An ordinance of the Board of Commissioners of the City of Newport, Kentucky, amending Section 31.46 of the Code of Ordinances concerning the positions in the Code Enforcement Department.
So moved.
Second motion.
All right.
Mayor, this is things that we discussed previously. I think it goes all the way back to February when it was first. This is a duplication. One of the positions is a duplicate. If you looked at the, what's being stricken, We had 2 administrative assistants. We also, by law, have to identify the zoning administrator, so we hence have identified the head of code enforcement as the zoning administrator.
Any questions on the board? Joy, please call the roll.
Commissioner Recton?
Yes.
Commissioner Plusso?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Plusso?
Yes.
Mayor Guduli?
Yes. Department head comments. Chief?
Thank you, Mayor, I appreciate it, but nothing tonight.
Chief? John?
Nothing further.
City Manager Fromey?
Sometimes I don't like being last because I'll break the streak.
Hmm.
Tonight's been a long meeting, but I think it was a worthwhile meeting. I'm glad to be able to hear, well, I shouldn't say I'm glad. I wanted to hear the concerns of the residents that are being affected by Victoria Square. Unfortunately, we're in an awkward situation with a legal entity, a municipality, of what we can say and what we can't say. It's very easy to sue the city of Newport, which costs all the taxpayers. Every time we're sued, we win or lose, just the attorney fees alone ending up costing everybody in the city through increased insurance costs for liability and everything else. And that's if we win. If we lose, it's even worse. So we're very cautious. And in cases like that, we're at a disadvantage. Because I know everybody sitting up here cares deeply about what's going on here, without a doubt. So I can only assure you and the rest of the board and the residents that we are trying to work on a solution. Not a temporary fix and not a short-term fix, but the mayor put it very well before, words are hollow. So we are working internally on what is the answer for this crisis. Because that's what it is to everybody who's going to be dispossessed and moved out. Some of them, like the woman, has lived there her whole life. And so that does mean something to us. And so we are working. I can't make promises. I won't make promises because I don't want to give false hope. And conversations here have been sparse because there, again, unfortunately, that nasty word called liability comes up for that. But we're not happy with how this came about at all. This was very ill thought, ill conceived, the notification. Hearing the story tonight about telling them one thing and then changing it 3 days later. Things like that. But I just want you all to know that we are working on something, and so we'll be coming forward with what I feel the best path forward is for all of us as a city, and for the residents that are being affected for this. I do want to make one comment with planning. Unfortunately, we're in the middle of metropolitan region. One of the largest metropolitan regions in the country, as was stated earlier. We're a small town. We have 16,000 people. They were doing the math earlier. Yeah, we have 60-something hundred housing units in the city for that. We have spent, going back to when the federal government decided, going way back in time, I'm going back to the 90s, on the Hope 6 project because they felt housing projects were a failed experiment. It was doing no good. It created generational poverty. There were people in the projects that lived there 4 and 5 generations for that. So yes, we have been planning. We've been working on building affordable housing. It's a slow process because we're not an entitlement city. We're not a big city. We don't have huge resources. But going back to that Hope 6 grant, $26 million back then, I'm going back in time, but in that period of time, we have spent $100 million on affordable housing initiatives for that. Is it enough? No. But give us $500 million then that could do that. I'm not making excuses, I'm just saying, we're running the city here, there is some pragmatic things here that we have to deal with on this. And this is one of them. Did we see Victoria Square coming? Well, we assumed a lot of stuff. But I can tell you right now that when I reached out to try to verify the rumor that I was told, and I got that on a text message, I got no response back. So I'm not gonna go out here and just make comments in the public when I can't verify it for that. But I found out, though, the sale happened July 7th, the next thing you know, they're sending eviction notices out. So that's what we're doing with it. But we can dig out of this hole, and that's what I've asked the staff, legal staff, and everybody else that works with the city inside and the board, and we'll dig out of this hole one way or another as best as we can. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Tom. On the board, Vice Mayor Paluso.
Thank you, Mayor. First of all, I want to thank everybody that came here tonight. Love to see this crowd every city commission meeting. Love hearing from the people. This is my home. It's not West Newport. It's not East Newport. It's not South Newport. It's Newport. It's always been Newport, and it will always be Newport as far as I'm concerned. I feel for the people that are going through this. I've been involved with my family for years and years and years. And as the city manager just mentioned, the housing projects all across this country by the federal government shut them down. They didn't work. This wasn't something that the city of Newport decided to do. This was a mandate from the federal government to do it. So I just, again, I'm thankful that everybody was here tonight, and I heard everybody speaking. You know, there are people in this audience that are landlords. I'm a landlord. I'm not a very good landlord. I have a tenant that has been with me for 20 years. Guess how much his rent has gone up in 20 years? Close your eyes. I care about my tenants. I care about my property. I care about my community, and I care about my neighbors. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Jerry Paluso.
Thank you, Mayor. First, want to thank the city manager for the comments. Two of the ladies that were in the audience, I've known them for a very long time. And I don't know what to say. I feel bad for them. We're all hurting. The one thing I do want to say is all of us up here, we do care. And to see them in the audience and to hear the one testimony, it moves you. So to say that we don't care is so far from the truth. Thank you, Mayor.
Jerry. Ken.
Tom, I can't add anything to what the other people have said about the meeting this evening. But in light of the hour, I'm going to say I have no more to add. Thanks.
Thank you, Ken. I think I've spoken enough about Victoria Square for the evening, and I think that all of you are aware that we care now, and I think that maybe our words were not as vocal, and we described why. I do want to share that we had a tragic loss of life on the bridge and bicycle accident, and the details surrounding that are probably still in a discovery phase, but I do want to share that it's, as I've seen comments and received phone calls, we got to get to a point where we respect each other, drivers and cyclists, and not argue. Respect that we both are entitled to the road by law. Is that accurate? Because people think they belong on the sidewalk, and that's not the way the law in Kentucky is. So as we're dealing with this very sad, tragic life lost that actually worked at Roebling Books in Newport, traveling across the bridge to Covington, I just think that we need to convey to each other biker safety and respect between cyclists and automobiles. So with that, I look for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Vice Mayor Paluso?
Yes.
Commissioner Recton?
Yes.
Commissioner Paluso?
Yes.
Mayor Kuduli?
Yes. Oh, you want that signature right now? So we can